It's time to feel what you've been bottling up. Life in rural America isn't easy. The long hours, the constant pressures, the demands of the land, livestock, and family, it all takes a toll. We're tough and we've got grit, but somewhere along the way, toughness started meaning bottling up emotions and powering through. But here's the truth. That strategy, it's not working and it's poisoning us. Maybe you've noticed and maybe you haven't, but the numbers don't lie. We're breaking down and it's showing up in our bodies, our relationships, and in the rising suicide rates in agriculture. You don't have to carry any of it alone. There's another way. If you're ready to stop being weighed down and start moving forward, my one-on-one good movement guidance is now open. Visit the link in the show notes to learn more and see if one-on-one guidance could be for you.
I'll carry you, you carry me, we'll help each other through it. Come on and see, good movement draws good movement.
Welcome to Good Movement Draws Good Movement, the podcast where farmers, ranchers, and rural folks can grow relationally through awareness, understanding, and effective communication. Hey, it's T. I'm your host, and I, along with my guests, will be covering topics related to drawing good movement. Things like self and social awareness, brain science, positive psychology, extending grace, and so much more. We'll share tools that can help you understand why you are the way you are, why others are the way they are, and how you can use that to step out of self-told lies with grace and compassion to draw good movement in conversations, relationships, and life in rural America. Let's go draw good movement. Welcome back to the Good Movement Draws Good Movement podcast. Have you ever cleaned your kid's room or your shop or your calving barn and things just get worse before they get better? Like you go in and you think it's going to be straightforward and you're going to get this thing cleaned up and it's going to be great. And then you start cleaning and taking all the things off the shelves and everything's in a pile and it just feels like, oh my gosh. Yep. Processing emotions is a lot like that, especially when we have been little hoarders of our feelings and have put them away, closed the door on it, and then we decide it's time to feel. And when we finally sit down to feel our feelings, we're not just dealing with the emotions in the moment. We're oftentimes unpacking years worth of emotions that we've shoved down, avoided, hoarded away. In today's episode, I want to explore why feeling feelings can feel so overwhelming at first, why it's worth pushing through, and how to stay grounded through the process. When we don't feel our feelings in the moment, oddly enough, they don't just disappear. They don't. They pile up like junk in a messy room or on our workbench in the shop. And it might be out of sight for a while, but it's still clutter in our emotional space. Some ways that you might just set that aside, staying busy, numbing. That's one of the things that I do when I don't want to deal with a feeling. I just find ways to numb or focusing on other things. When we finally do start to feel, it's like dumping all the piles into the middle of the room or the shop to sort them through. And it looks and feels so much worse. And it's tempting to think, why did I even start this? And then set it aside for another day. Sorting through our emotions can feel really chaotic because it forces us to confront what we've been avoiding. It's uncomfortable, it's messy, but that's the only real way to truly clear it out. And when we start feeling, we're not just feeling the emotions of the moment. Again, remember, we're often having to feel past feelings, all the things that we shoved down, the grief, the anger, the disappointment, all these things that we've been carrying around because we didn't want to process it in the moment. So we just put it on the shelf, shut the door. But just like the shop or the kids' room, like I say the shop because I know sometimes the shop can collect things and then you have to go through it. I don't do as much shop cleaning as I do cleaning our kids' playroom. And so when I'm thinking of this analogy, I'm thinking of the kids' playroom. And when I clean the kids' playroom, I don't tackle it all at once. I start with the trash because let's face it, I don't need to take anything off the shelves and pile it on the floor to sort through it. It's just already on the floor. And so I go through that pile and I take out everything that is trash, all the papers, the wrappers, the scraps, the broken toys, everything that is trash comes out. And then after I've got the trash out, I take all of the art supplies and then I take all of the stuffed animals. Or, maybe I don't do it in that exact order. The point is I pick one thing to start with. And the same is true when it comes to feeling our feelings and processing our emotions. We can start small. Maybe that means journaling about one specific feeling or naming what's coming up for you in the moment. I would say that naming what's coming up for you in the moment might be the best first step, but this is personal to everyone. If it's not for you, then that's fine. But when we can name the feeling and name the emotion, that is one small step that we can take to untangling and organizing and processing all of these emotions that we've been hoarding away. If you are feeling overwhelmed by this, I want you to take a minute to ground yourself before you start this process. Take some deep breaths to regulate your nervous system. Write down or name your feelings without judgment. And then maybe you talk to someone who can hold space for you and acknowledge the difficulty. Acknowledge that it's not easy. It's really tempting to stop when the mess gets too big or feels too chaotic. But just like cleaning that shop or that playroom, if you walk away now, the mess doesn't go anywhere. It just will continue to grow. The key is to stay present even when it feels hard. Remember that this mess is temporary. It's part of the process of creating something better. It's not going to feel this messy forever. It gets worse before it gets better, especially when you've been a hoarder of your feelings and emotions. Once you can take those small steps and you've sorted through this mess and cleaned out the clutter and put everything back where it belongs, doesn't that just feel so amazing? I'm talking about actually cleaning the shop or a room now. But doesn't that feel so amazing? The same is true for emotions. And I'm speaking from personal experience because I've been through this messy mess of hoarding feelings for years and years and years pretty recently. And I can tell you that now that I've sort of gotten things sorted out and put where they belong, and now I'm feeling things as it comes, it feels so good. Once you process your emotions, you're no longer carrying them around with you. You're not carrying the weight of all the stuff that you've been hoarding. And when you clear your emotional clutter out, you create space for peace, for joy, for growth. You aren't stuck in that mess anymore. And it feels really freeing. And then as you continue to process feelings in the moment instead of avoiding them, by doing that, you are building resilience. And we're going to talk more about resilience in an upcoming episode that I'm so excited about. But you're teaching your brain and your body that it's safe to feel and that it helps you handle future challenges with more ease. I'm not going to say it's easy, but with more ease. So clearing out your emotional space also makes it easier for you to connect with others. You're not reacting, you're responding, and you're not coming from a place of old unresolved emotions, but you're showing up fully present. So if you are just at the beginning of your process of feeling, start small. Focus on naming the feeling in the moment. And remember, it's okay if it feels overwhelming, because if you're anything like me, you've been hoarding for a while, and that overwhelming feeling will get better. It's a process. It's a slow process, but a worthwhile process. Now, if you're supporting someone who's in that it gets worse before it gets better, or just opening the door on their messy room or shop, offer them empathy and patience, compassion and patience, compassion and curiosity. Don't try to fix it for them, but just hold space and remind them that they're not alone, especially if you have gone through this process yourself. You know what it feels like in that worse before it gets better space. Feeling your feelings isn't easy, especially if that's not something that you've done, but instead you've been, storing away. But it is so worth it. Just like cleaning up that shop, organizing that kid's playroom. The process can be uncomfortable and overwhelming, and the mess is worse, like right after you start, before it gets better. But the clarity and the peace that you find on the other side make it all worth it. So with that, until next time, draw good movement. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm so grateful for you. If you found value in this episode, I'd love for you to share with others who might also benefit from tuning in. Share by word of mouth, send it in a text, take a screenshot and post it on social media, or share however you prefer. And if you haven't already, hit the follow or subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Until next time, draw good movement.